The EPA releases proposal to rescind Obama-era endangerment finding. This cost the U.S. taxpayers trillions of dollars. Find out why here on the Energy Newsbeat Daily Stand-Up. EPA releases proposal to rescind Obama-era endangerment findings, regulations that pave the way for the electrical vehicle mandates. If finalized, this proposal will undo the underpinning of the $1 trillion in costly regulations, and it will save more than $54 billion annually. When you take a look at this from the EPA, Lee Zeldin and the whole team of Doug Burgum and Secretary Chris Wright leading the pack, in Indianapolis, in an auto dealership in Indiana, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, Lee Zeldin, released the agency's proposal to rescind the 2009 endangerment finding. This is huge because this is the basis that the Obama administration has put in for Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 emission carbon taxes. The whole climate scheme is now coming unraveled. Since the 2009 endangerment finding was issued, many have stated that the American people and auto manufacturing has suffered significant uncertainties and massive costs related to general regulations of greenhouse gases from vehicles and trucks. But it goes further than that. The gigantic new deal that the President Trump just struck with the EU could be in danger if the EU tries to hit the U.S. oil and gas companies with Scope 3 emission stuff coming around the corner. And this is going to play into it like you wouldn't believe. With this proposal, the Trump EPA is proposing to end 16 years of uncertainty for automakers and American consumers. And again, this is reaching beyond automakers. It's going to go to the oil companies as well, said EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. In our work so far, many stakeholders have told me that the Obama and Biden EPA's twisted law ignored the precedent and warped science to achieve their preferred ends and stick American families with hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes every single year. We heard a loud and clear concern the EPA's greenhouse emissions standards themselves, not carbon dioxide, which the finding never assessed independently, was the real threat to Americans' livelihoods if finalized, rescinding the endangerment finding and resulting in regulations that would end $1 trillion or more of hidden taxes and American businesses. This is huge. I cannot begin to tell you how important that this is. This is from Governor Mike Braun. The Obama EPA used regulations as a political tool to hurt American competitiveness with results to show for it today. Today's announcement is a win for consumer choice, common sense, and American energy independence. President Trump, Secretary Wright, and Administrator Zeldin are returning the EPA to its proper role, and I'm proud to say that Indiana is the place to make this announcement because our state is proof we can protect our environment and support American jobs. This is cool. Here's how important this is. The EU deal struck, and they are going to try to impose Scope 3 emissions on the United States. That is going to undermine all the great things that President Trump is trying to do right now with maintaining energy dominance around the world. So this is going to tee up I guarantee you, Secretary Chris Wright and the team to get proposed legislation in front of President Trump in order to go ahead and stop the EU from charging us on climate taxes, on carbon capture, on all of the other kind of greenhouse gas emissions taxes that they are proposing and are trying to enforce on the United States. This is critical. Well done, Lee Zeldin. We are very proud of you and Secretary Chris Wright. Let's go to the next story here. U.S. to open domestic supply of critical minerals from mine to waste. This is huge and a bold move to enhance national security and reduce reliance on foreign imports. The U.S. Department of the Interior, way to go, Secretary Doug Burgum, has launched an initiative to extract critical minerals from existing mine waste. This is critical and restoring American energy dominance in strategic mineral production. This will cut the cost of absolute production because it's waste. It's already chewed up, and you just start dumping this into separating it and getting it refined, and you go right into ore processing. This is just like out of the coal ash, but this is also using it out of mine waste and stuff. This is cool. Here's the rare earth elements that they're looking at doing: antimony, germanium, tellurium, zinc, and arsenic. This is very important. And as we take a look at this, the USGS inventories, the initiative can unlock billions in value and reduce their import dependence by 10 to 50% on key minerals. That number is huge. That is fantastic. Well done, Secretary Burgum. This next story is very important when you take a look at Egypt's decline from LNG exporter to LNG importer could change global markets. Energy security starts from investing in your own country's resources, and that's what we're learning from this model of what happened to Egypt. In the span of a decade, Egypt has undergone a dramatic transformation in its energy landscape, shifting a balance from a liquefied natural gas exporter to a significant importer. This reversal is driven by declining domestic production and surging energy demand. Not only strains the economy, but ripples through the global LNG markets. This could really upset where everything is going, even though they're right down the road from Qatar, so to speak. And not many LNG tankers are going through the Red Sea to get to Egypt. They're having to go all the way around because of the Houthis. So somebody needs to call up the Houthis and go, hey, would you guys start being humans? But let's talk about why Egypt is increasing its LNG imports. It's keeping it to keep the lights on, stems from a perfect storm of declining production, skyrocketing domestic demand, and external disruptions. And they are a big buyer out of natural gas out of the Leviathan field. And so that they are having to worry about that when you had the Leviathan field shut down. In 2024, Egypt resumed LNG imports for the first time in 6 years, procuring, listen to this, 1.84 million tons in the first half of 2025 alone, nearly 75% of its total 2024 imports by mid-2025. That's a lot of LNG that they're starting to roll in. And you take a look at the mix of globals, it's Shell, Total Energies, as Michael says, Saudi Aramco, Trafigura, and Vitol, with deals securing 60 cargoes from Shell and Total Energies alone in 2025 for a total cost of $3 billion. They need to get some money to get back to their drilling programs and go do some exploration and become energy dependent. I can't stress this enough. Energy independence starts at home. Energy security is a national security for countries. Do not rely on other countries. Yes, it's great to have a contract, but you've got to watch out for your own country. That is what everyone needs to do, and the world would be a great thing. This is a great description of why continued investment in oil and gas, because it's a declining resource. You invest in it, you start the well, and then it comes online, and then you have a natural declining curve. It's called the decline curve. And we need trillions of dollars just to meet normal demand. So we'll talk about that here on one of the last stories here. Electricity and generated from wind and solar cannot replace fossil fuels. This story is from a great friend of the show. This is from Ronald Stein. he is one cool cat. And he, again, is hitting it out of the park. He is saying it. Modern society depends on continuous, reliable electricity, not only for lighting and appliances, but for transportation, industrial production, communication, and the maintenance of public health systems. But he also points out there's 5,999 products that are made from oil and gas that you cannot make from a wind farm. You cannot make an iPhone from a wind farm. You have to have oil and gas. Ignoring this complexity in favor or simple narratives undermines our ability to build practical, balanced electrical strategies for the future. It also risks creating policies of disrupt crucial sectors, jeopardizing economic growth, and overlook the need for poor developing regions still struggling with access to electricity. This is a very important point, and that is because the amount of money that we've spent on wind and solar have disrupted the grid, and the great Department of Energy has posted out, you have got to get your energy in line for your business, because we are facing a 100-fold increase with potential blackouts due to the amount of wind and solar on our grid in the United States. Period. You've got to make sure, as a business owner, talk to someone about making sure that you've got a backup for your critical, a minimum amount that you need to get your business, keep your business running. If that's 2 generators out back, if that's 1 generator that will get you by until the grid can come back on, figure out that formula and get a backup generator or your own microgrid, and understand, because we now have a extremely long wait time of up to 4 years for some larger natural gas power plants. So you're going to have to look at smaller plants, tag them together in different ways, and make a microgrid to get you held over. Now's the time to take a look at that. Anyway, let's go to the last story here. And I'd like to give a shout out to Reese Energy Consulting. Go to reeseenergyconsulting.com. Steve and the staff over there do an absolute phenomenal job. If you're in the midstream space and you want to get your molecules, you want to get maximum money for your molecules, go out there and hit them up. They can get your molecules and get them from the United States all the way to Germany and Poland. They've got some great resources around the world. Again, a shout out to Steve Reese and his team over there. We've got a fantastic podcast coming out next week with them. That'll be fabulous. China shifts to fuel exports due to higher margins in their downstream sector. In a significant pivot with the global energy landscape, China, the world's largest importer and refiner, has ramped up its exports of refined petroleum products, including gasoline and diesel, as domestic demand softens and overseas margins become more lucrative. This shift, accelerating in 2025, reflects broader economic and structural changes in China's energy sector. As refiners capitalize on export opportunities, questions arise about the implications of internal consumption and crude oil. This is critical when you sit back and take a look at this. The key, China's fuel exports are finding eager buyers across the Asia Pacific and beyond, with regional hubs absorbing the bulk of the shipments. Singapore remains the dominant destination for gasoline, including for 73% of Southeast Asian imports from China. Pretty important. Philippines also getting for diesel, which was 1.1 million in the first half of the year, and then Mexico and Hong Kong. Now, when you take a look at how LNG imports and crude oil imports, I have a chart in here, and you take a look at how the chart in here provided by Sandstone Asset Management, you can see that as China's oil demand has gone, so has the oil price and demand around the world. Now, you've heard me say we are going to be in that $80 range. I mean, it could be 75, it could be 85, it could be in that range, but that's the sweet spot for continuing investment into oil so that we can keep the balance. You always have the peaks and valleys that Michael talks about. But if India can grow more than China can decline, that is going to solidify the global demand, and we are going to see great oil prices for investors. Oil companies are going to be able to give great money back. You're going to be able to keep that sweet spot. Gasoline will be able to be still in the same range that it is now, even though it is the high peak season right now. It seems to be a very good balancing spot in there. And drill baby drill is no longer drill baby drill. It's drill baby when fiscally responsible. As Steve Reese has said, we're seeing the molecule demand change, and people are drilling a lot more for natural gas because natural gas is needed to drive our great energy dominance in the AI space. So with that, like, subscribe. If you're a investor, if you've got a tax situation, reach out to us or go to energynewsbeat.co/invest in oil and take a look and fill out that survey, and we can hook you up with several different oil and gas companies that do offer tax incentive portfolio for investing in them. And some of them are up to 98%, 100% of tax deductible investing. With that, like, subscribe, share, read this to your pets, and hug your family today. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Talk to you all soon.